A very colorful morning to all my dear students of class 12 of all the three streams. Today I welcome you and I am here with my English video class with the chapter from the book VISTAS, chapter number 6 on the face of it by Susan Hill. Students, this chapter is basically a play by Susan Hill which is divided into three scenes. Scene 1, Scene 2 and Scene 3. And this chapter starts from page number 56 and ends in page number 69. I thought of taking this chapter into 5 classes. We find in this chapter 3 important characters. Mr. Lamp, who was also called as Lammy Lamp. Then we find Derry, a boy of 14 years old, and Derry's mother. Scene 1 takes place in Mr. Lamb's garden. Scene 2 takes place in Derry's house, and Scene 3 again takes place in Mr. Lamb's garden. In my very first class, that is in today's class, I will be telling you about the writer Susan Hill. I will be telling you also about the theme of the chapter on the face of it. I will give you the message conveyed through this chapter by the writer Susan Hill, as well as I will be explaining to you page numbers 56, 57 and 58 of Scene 1. And at the end, I will tell you about the significance or justification of the title on the face of it. Am I clear to you? Now I will tell you about the author Susan Hill. Being a novelist, children's writer and playwright, Susan Hill was born in Scarborough, England on 5th February 1942. She was educated at Scarborough Convent School and at Grammar School in Coventry before reading English at King's College, London, graduating in 1963 and becoming a fellow in 1978. Her first novel, The Enclosure, was published in 1961 when she was still a student. She worked as a freelance journalist between 1963 and 1968, publishing her third novel, Gentlemen and Ladies, in 1968. She became a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature in the year 1972 and was a presenter of BBC Radio 4's Bookshelf from 1986 to 1987. In 1996, she started her own publishing company, Longburn Books, editing and publishing a quarterly literary journal, Books and Company, in 1998. She won a Somerset Maugham Award. Susan Hill is an English writer of fiction and non-fiction works. Her novels include The Woman in Black, The Mist in the Mirror, and I Am the King of the Castle, for which she received the Somerset Maugham Award in 1971. She also won the Whitbread Novel Award for The Bird of Night in the year 1972. Since then, she has written many other novels, including Strange Meeting, set during the First World War in the springtime of the year 1974, The Woman in Black, 1983, Air and Angels, 1991, The Mist in the Mirror, 1992, The Service of Clouds, and Mrs. De Winter. Susan Hill is also the author of 2 volumes of memoir, The Magic Apple Tree, A Country Year, about her life in rural Oxfordshire during the 1970s and family, in which she writes about her early life in Scarborough. Her books for children include The Glass Angels, Beware, Beware, King of Kings, and The Battle for Gulliver. She has also written radio plays, a number of books of non-fiction, and has edited several anthologies of short stories, including 2 volumes of the Penguin Book of Modern Romance short stories published in 1991 and 1997. Her latest collection of short stories is Farthing House and Other Stories 2006, and her latest novel is Black Sheep in the year 2013. What is the theme of the chapter On the Face of It by Susan Hill? The play deals with the sense of loss, a sense of isolation, a sense of alienation, and how to overcome it. The actual pain caused by a physical impairment is often much less than the sense of alienation felt by the person. The title On the Face of It is used to mean that something seems to be good, true, etc., but that needs to be changed when you know more about it. Appearances are deceptive, and most often we go on dealing with impressions and prejudices about others without bothering to know them. People know Mr. Lamb as a lonely, eccentric, lame old man, but in reality, he is a very kind and generous man who longs for company, and he loves his fellow human beings along with all other creations of God. Similarly, Derry appears to be an abominable, ugly boy with a huge scar on his face whom no one loves or likes or befriends. He is the object of other people's hateful stares, ridicules, and neglect. Even his mother does not dare to kiss him on the cheek with the scar. Yet this boy, who is suffering from an acute inferiority complex, has a tender and sensitive heart. He wants to love and be loved. Fortunately, he meets Mr. Lamb, who transforms him with his healing touch. What is the message conveyed by Susan Hill through her play On the Face of It? The message woven into the plot of the play is that scars do not change a person, and handicaps must be accepted by individuals and the society. With a burnt face, Derry had to face discrimination, because of which he turned pessimistic. He had started hating being around people and had concluded that everyone hated him too because of his face. Then Derry meets Mr. Lamb, a person who looks at things with an optimistic view. He points out that how one green plant is considered desirable and how the other, that is the weed, is undesirable. So, Mr. Lamb tells Derry that it all depends upon people's individual perspective. A thing is a beauty for one, while that beauty may be a beast for the others. The play deals with the sense of loss, a sense of isolation. The actual pain caused by a physical impairment is often much less than the sense of alienation felt by the person. Now students, I will be explaining to you line by line page numbers 56, 57 and 58 of scene 1. Okay. Now you take out your textbook VISTAS and you follow my explanation. Students, you look into page number 56. The chapter begins. Chapter number 6 of the book VISTAS, On the Face of It by Susan Hill. Before you read, this is a play featuring an old man and a small boy meeting in the farmer's garden. The old man strikes up a friendship with the boy, who is very withdrawn and defiant. What is the bond that unites the two? See, students, this is a play or a story featuring an old man, that is Mr. Lamb, and a small boy, that is Derry, who has a burnt face, and Mr. Lamb, who is a disabled old man with an artificial leg made of tin. Derry accidentally enters his garden so that he can hide himself from people who hate him because of his ugly face. Mr. Lamb not only welcomes him in his garden but also encourages him to lead a normal life, leaving behind his past. They developed a bond of friendship between them. Scene 1 begins now. Page number 56. Mr. Lamb's garden. There is the occasional sound of bird song and of tree leaves rustling. Derry's footsteps are heard as he walks slowly and tentatively through the long grass. He pauses, then walks on again. He comes round a screen of bushes so that when Mr. Lamb speaks to him, he is close at hand and Derry is startled. What do these lines of page number 56 mean? The narrator describes the setting of scene 1. The location is Mr. Lamb's garden. One can occasionally hear the birds singing and the low sound of the tree leaves. Derry, a young boy, enters the garden hesitantly. When he comes out of the bushes, he is surprised to hear Mr. Lamb talking to him. Look into page number 56. Now the conversation begins of Mr. Lamb and Derry. Mr. Lamb, mind the apples. Derry, what? Who's that? Who's there? Mr. Lamb, Lamb's my name. Mind the apples. Crab apples, those are. Wind falls in the long grass. You could trip. Derry, there. I thought this was an empty place. I didn't know there was anybody here. What do the conversations of Mr. Lamb and Derry mean of page number 56? Mr. Lamb warns Derry about the crab apples that usually fail in the long grass from the tree above. Derry was shocked on hearing a voice. He asked as to who it was. Mr. Lamb introduced himself and also said that small sour apples known as crab apples had fallen on the ground. If Derry would not be careful while walking through the grass, he could trip over them and get hurt. Derry said that he didn't know that someone was present in the garden. Derry said that he didn't know that someone was present in the garden. He thought it to be empty. Students, you look into page number 57. The conversation of Mr. Lamb and Derry continues. Mr. Lamb, that's all right. I am here. What are you afraid of, boy? That's all right. Derry, I thought it was empty. An empty house. Mr. Lamb, so it is. Since I am out here in the garden, it is empty until I go back inside. In the meantime, I am out here and likely to stop. A day like this, beautiful day, not a day to be indoors. Derry, panic. I have got to go. Mr. Lamb, not on my account. I don't mind who comes into the garden. The gate's always open. Only you climbed the garden wall. Derry, angry. You were watching me. Mr. Lamb, I saw you, but the gate's open. All welcome. You are welcome. I sit here. I like sitting. Derry, I would not come to steal anything. Mr. Lamb, no. The young lads still scrump the apples. You are not so young. Derry, I just wanted to come into the garden. Mr. Lamb, so you did. Here we are then. Jerry, you don't know who I am. Mr. Lamb, a boy, 13 or so. Jerry, 14. Pause. But I have got to go now. Goodbye. Mr. Lamb, nothing to be afraid of. Just a garden. Just me. Jerry, but I'm not afraid. Pause. People are afraid of me. Mr. Lamb, why should that be? Jerry, everyone is. It doesn't matter who they are or what they say or how they look, how they pretend. I know. I can see. Mr. Lamb, see what? Jerry, what they think. Mr. Lamb, what do they think then? Jerry, you think. Here's a boy. You look at me and then you see my face and you think, that's bad. That's a terrible thing. That's the ugliest thing I ever saw. You think, poor boy. But I am not poor. Underneath, you are afraid. Anybody would be. I am. When I look in the mirror and see it, I am afraid of me. What do these conversations between Mr. Lamb and Jerry mean in page number 57? Jerry also said that he thought the houses to be empty, and even the house seemed empty to him. Mr. Lamb tried to comfort him by saying that the house was empty as he was out in the garden. He also asked him not to be afraid. Jerry wanted to leave the place. Mr. Lamb tried and to stop him and said that there was no need to leave the garden just because of him. He also told him that he kept the gate open for people. It was only Jerry who jumped the wall. Jerry got angry for being pointed at like that. He also clarified that he hadn't come to steal anything from there. Mr. Lamb agreed by saying that at many times apples had been stolen by young boys and that Jerry was not so young. But still Jerry wanted to leave. Mr. Lamb told him not to be afraid of him and asked him to stay there for a while. Jerry told him that he was not afraid of anyone, rather people were afraid of him. Lamb asked him the reason for that. He told him that he knew what people thought and how they behaved in front of him. Mr. Lamb questioned him about what others thought of him. Jerry said that people got scared on seeing his face. Some considered it bad or ugly, while some even took pity on him by saying that he was a poor boy. He added that they were fake. Actually, they all were afraid of his face. He even got scared of his own face when he looked into the mirror. He added that Mr. Lamb will also pity him, but in his heart he will also be scared of Daddy. Now students, you look into page number 58. Mr. Lamb, no, not the whole of you, not of you. Jerry, yes. Pause. Mr. Lamb, later on, when it's a bit cooler, I will get the ladder and a stick and pull down those crab apples. They are ripe for it. I make jelly. It's a good time of year, September. Look at them, orange and golden. That's magic fruit, I often say. But it's best picked and made into jelly. You could give me a hand. Jerry, what have you changed the subject for? People always do that. Why don't you ask me? Why do you do what they all do and pretend it isn't true and isn't there? In case I see you looking and mind and get upset, I will tell. You don't ask me because you are afraid too. Mr. Lamb, you want me to ask? Say so. Then, Jerry, I don't like being with people, any people. Mr. Lamb, I should say, to look at it, I should say, you got burned in a fire. Jerry, Not in a fire. I got acid all down that side of my face and it burned it all away. It ate my face up. It ate me up. And now it's like this and it won't ever be any different. What do these conversations of page number 58, which took place between Mr. Lamb and Jerry, mean? Mr. Lamb said that he wasn't afraid of Jerry. Jerry was shocked to hear that. Then Mr. Lamb told him that he would bring a ladder and stick and pick fine and ripe crab apples as they made a good jelly. He also told him that in September they get ripe and become a magic fruit having orange and golden color. He also asked him to join him in doing so. Jerry pointed him for changing the topic just like other people did. He added that Mr. Lamb didn't ask him about his face because he was afraid of asking about it. Jerry got annoyed and said that he did not like the company of people. Mr. Lamb guessed that maybe his face got burnt in some fire. Jerry told him that it was due to acid that had burnt half of his face. He was so grieved that he kept on repeating that acid ate his face and that it would never get cured. Now students, I will be telling you the justification or significance of the title of the chapter on the face of it. The title on the face of it justifies the theme of the chapter. With a burnt face, Jerry had to face discrimination, because of which he had turned pessimistic. He had started hating being around people and had concluded that everyone hated him too because of his face. Then Jerry meets Mr. Lamb, a person who looks at things with a half-full perspective. He points out that how one green plant is considered desirable and how the other weed is undesirable and how the sound made by the bees may be noise to some and music to others. He teaches Jerry to not to look at his burnt face as a disability and try to overcome it, just as Mr. Lamb had dealt with his thin leg. The title means that it's not the problem, but the way we look at the problem that matters. On the face of it is an informal expression used to say that what may seem good, but this opinion may change when you know more about it. This definition of the expression should leave us in no doubt about the appropriateness of the title. Mr. Lamb is called Lammy Lamb and mothers were afraid of sending the children because of his thin leg. Jerry had a burnt face and everyone pities him. Only a mother could love such a face. Both Mr. Lamb and Jerry have been facing hatred and alienation. Mr. Lamb takes comments lightly, but Jerry does not have the attitude like Mr. Lamb. The attitude of the people needs to be changed. On the face of it, both suffers from disability, but their attitudes are very different. The title is therefore justified. So with this, I come to the end of today's class, and in my next class, I will be continuing my explanation. Okay? You go through these 3 pages which I have explained to you today, that is page number 56, 57 and 58. If you have any problem, you can clear your doubts from me. Thank you, students.